and she was actually very happy for about 2 years.
Global national anchor Dawna Friesen recently provided the opening keynote at the 2016 BC Care Providers Association annual conference in Whistler. She shared her personal and emotional story of caring for her parents who both suffered from dementia in Manitoba. The following interview was conducted after her keynote address.
And she declined, her dementia became worse, she eventually...
So just first of all, how do you think today's session went?
It was a really impressive conference. Everyone should be really proud, all the organizers. I think you're nailing it. I think that a lot of the questions, certainly anyone who has someone in care asks, is how can we do this better, and how can the system work better, and how can we make better use of the completely committed people that already work in the system but feel confined by the rules and the restrictions. And I think that's exactly what you're working towards, which is terrific.
Okay. You kind of touched on this a little bit during your keynote address, but what made you want to be a part of the conference, and mostly what made you want to share your story with everyone?
I decided to tell my story and make my parents' story public because I think as I sat in the care home when I would visit my parents, I realized there's so many other people in that facility, and then hundreds of facilities across the country, of people who are children of parents, loved ones of people who are going through the same thing I'm going through. And why be silent about it? Why not be more open? Why not talk about how difficult it is, and how the system, though the people who work in the care system are fantastic, the system needs a lot of improvement. The care homes need a lot of help, and I think the level of care could be a lot better than it is for people like my parents. So I decided to go public. I will say my mother would kill me if she knew I was doing this because she was intensely private, and I could only start to talk about it in a public way when she was no longer able to understand what this was all about, because she'd be so furious.
So you touched on, in your personal experiences, you noticed that there's obviously some improvements that need to be made in the system. Can you go into a little bit more detail on what you think are the most, glaring issues, and maybe ways that they could be addressed?
Well, I just can speak for my parents, who were in a care facility that my mother's father was in. So it's existed for a long time. It's 3-story cinder block, long hallways, fluorescent lights, shared rooms. It feels like an institution. And when she would go in there to visit her father, she would say, I would rather die than end up in a place like this. When I go to visit my parents, my dad's now passed away, but go to see my mom, I feel like I would never want to be in a place like this. I think the staff who work there, who do their absolute best and care for all the residents so well, know that it could be better than it is. So it's about the person-centered approach. It's about realizing that these are people who still have emotions that need to be dealt with. They still love to sing. They love to be in fresh air. They love to see sunlight. They love all those things that they used to love, perhaps even more so because their emotions are even more intense. And there's so little of that for them.
So what do you hope that the people in the room can take away from today's session?
I guess that it's the idea that keep in mind who you're caring for, and that it can be so hard to see that there's an individual there, especially when the person has advanced dementia or advanced Alzheimer's, and they're not communicating. It's so easy to see a frustrated old person, an angry old person, and there's always more there. And if every person in care, working in care, can try and reach someone in some personal way with some level of emotion, that can make a difference, big difference.